December 2023. I want you to just picture the scene for a second.
Okay.
The humidity of the Australian jungle is finally breaking. There's confetti raining down. It's sticking to the sweat on his forehead.
Right. The big moment.
The public has spoken. Millions of votes have been cast, and they are cheering for their new king. This is a man who spent a decade on reality TV.
Yeah.
Often playing the goofy younger brother, the chaotic boyfriend.
And now he's just won I'm a Celeb.
He is officially the happiest man in Britain.
It's the classic hero's journey, isn't it? The underdog victory.
Yeah.
But if you were watching really closely, I mean really watching, the cracks were already starting to show. Because the camera saw King, but the reality was a man about to enter, well, the most destructive year of his life.
Exactly. The story usually ends at the victory, but real life,
Yeah.
it just keeps going. He won the crown, but in the process, he lost his mind. And eventually, he lost the love of his life. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Today we are looking at the rise, fall, and reinvention of Sam Thompson. And look, on the surface, this might just sound like celebrity gossip. But it's actually a really fascinating look at the limits of human endurance, especially in this, this attention economy we all live in.
We are unpacking the stories behind the fame today. And this one,
Yeah.
it is a roller coaster. We're talking about a transition from made-in-Chelsea royalty to a national treasure, and then the absolute crash that came right after.
And we've got sources from his own podcast, Staying Relevant, reports from OK Magazine, The Daily Record. We've really gone deep on this one.
Our mission here is to look at the real cost of staying relevant. We see the smiles on Instagram, but the story here is about severe burnout, a really high-profile breakup, some incredibly brave health diagnoses that, well, they changed everything for him.
So where do we start?
Let's start with what the industry calls the gold rush period. But for Sam, looking back, it probably feels more like a curse. The yes man era.
It's such a common thing in entertainment. You win a show like I'm a Celeb and boom, you are the hottest commodity in the country. The phone just does not stop ringing. And the fear, this deep-seated fear, is that if you say no to just one thing, the phone stops ringing for good. It's a scarcity mindset that's triggered by, ironically, abundance.
And Sam said yes to everything. I mean, let's just look at his 2024 schedule.
Yeah.
He's hosting the Hits Radio evening show, Monday to Thursday.
Okay.
He's a regular on This Morning. He's a panelist on Love Island, After Sun. He's touring a podcast.
Wow.
Sources estimate he was on air or in prep for something like 70 to 80 hours a week.
70 to 8. I mean, to put that in perspective, the legal working limit in Europe is set at 48 hours. He was working nearly double that, all while being watched by millions. That's just, it's not sustainable for anyone.
It was described as an unprecedented workload. And you have to remember, this isn't just sitting at a desk. This is on energy, high performance all the time.
It's that harvest mentality. You try to get everything you can before the winter comes. But Sam isn't a machine. He's a human being, and we later found out, a human being navigating some pretty significant neurodivergence.
And that kind of sensory input, constantly switching from radio to TV to a live stage,
Yeah.
it is a recipe for collapse.
Total collapse.
And the breaking point has a very specific date, November 2024. He goes back to the scene of the crime, so to speak. He signs up to host the spin-off show, I'm a Celeb, Unpacked, live from Australia.
And this is where the logistics just get nightmarish. And frankly, this is probably where his management should have stepped in.
Oh, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Because the show airs live in the UK, Sam's in Australia, but he has to work UK hours. So he's waking up at midnight Australian time to prep.
Oh, no.
And then going to sleep at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Just think about that. That's a complete inversion of your body clock. For anyone, that is physically damaging. It messes with your cortisol, your digestion, everything. For Sam, it triggered a genuine medical emergency before he even got on the plane.
Yeah, let's unpack this, because it is actually quite scary. It gives you a real glimpse into his mental state at the time. According to his own podcast, he literally ran to the doctor for an emergency appointment just before flying out. He knew he wasn't going to be able to cope.
He told his co-host, Pete Wicks, that he walked out of that appointment with 24 sleeping pills. 24. He got them just in case because he was terrified of the schedule. That's not someone excited for a job. That is someone going into survival mode.
24 pills. That detail is so specific and honestly haunting. He was anticipating the crash.
Exactly. It's a preemptive strike against his own body. And Pete Wicks, who's usually the grumpy one, he was genuinely worried. He pointed out that Sam doesn't cope well with change, and here he was flying across the world to live like a vampire.
It's so ironic. Winning the jungle made him a king, But going back to that environment, even just to a studio, is what broke him. He felt this pressure to just gobble it all up, as he put it.
But you can only borrow energy from tomorrow for so long before that debt comes due. And in his case, the interest rate was exorbitant.
And the debt didn't just cost him his sleep. It cost him something so much more personal. Because while he was living on vampire time in Australia, his life back home was completely unraveling. And that brings us to the heartbreak.
Yeah, this part is sad, but it's so crucial to the story. Sam Thompson and Zara McDermott were, the reality TV power couple. Together for 5 years, they lived next door to his sister.
They had the cats, Elvis and Cedric. They'd even survived that very public cheating scandal back in 2019.
Right. Zara had been unfaithful during X Factor, Celebrity, and they worked through it. They really seemed solid. But this trip to Australia in late 2024, it just seems to be the thing that finally destroyed them.
The physical barriers alone were immense. The details on this are pretty rough. Zara couldn't just pop over for a visit.
Right.
Because Sam was working all night and sleeping all day, and it was a closed production set. There was literally zero window for them to connect.
Plus, she was busy filming her own BBC documentary in the UK. So you have these two people on parallel tracks that just never, ever intersect.
And then you have the unique pressure cooker of a public relationship. In that world, a relationship isn't just a romance, it's kind of a brand asset.
That is a cynical but very accurate way of putting it. And when a relationship already has some scar tissue, like the trust issues from 2019, that kind of distance is just poison. Silence breeds suspicion.
And the fallout was immediate. Christmas 2024, this is when the fans knew something was really wrong. Usually they're all over Instagram with matching pajamas. This year, nothing. Silence.
It was such a stark contrast. You had Sam volunteering and then partying with his old Made in Chelsea friends at Kensington Roof Gardens, and you had Zara at home in Essex with the cats.
The physical separation was just a sign of the emotional separation. And then, January 2025, the announcement drops they've split. The sources cite work-life imbalance, which, given the sleeping pills and the midnight wake-up calls, makes perfect sense.
It does. But this is where the story gets, well, complicated and a little bit awkward for everyone. Because in the celebrity world, you rarely get a clean break. The ecosystem is just too small.
Oh, you're talking about the soccer aid situation? This is wild. Wow. So fast forward to June 2025. Sam is a huge part of soccer aid for UNICEF. He does this massive challenge, running and cycling from London to Manchester.
Incredible.
Raises 2 million pounds. Heroic stuff.
Amazing achievement. But then disaster strikes. He tears his calf muscle. He can't play in the actual match.
Right. So they put him on the management team instead. He's on the sidelines cheering on the England team.
And who is playing on the England team?
Louis Tomlinson from One Direction.
Who is reportedly dating
Zara McDermott.
You could not write this. If you put this in a script, they'd tell you it was too on the nose. You have Sam managing a team, and the star player is the man dating his very recent ex-girlfriend.
The press went into a total frenzy. They were looking for the drama, the side-eye. And I think this shows how much he'd grown. He just shut it all down.
He did. His response was so mature. He basically said, I am literally a vehicle for UNICEF. I don't want to take away from the charity. He just refused to engage.
Which is a huge change from the Made in Chelsea Sam, who would have probably thrown a drink over it.
Precisely. And I think that maturity came from somewhere deeper. Because while all this external chaos was happening, the burnout, the breakup, Sam was going through this profound personal realization.
This is the part of the story I find most inspiring. We teased it earlier. The dinosaur suit reveal. Because Sam lost his relationship, but he finally found a label for what was going on inside his own brain.
We should rewind a little bit to 2023. Sam filmed that documentary, Is This ADHD?
Right.
And he was diagnosed with ADHD on camera. It was a huge moment for him and for so many viewers who saw themselves in him.
Yeah, the high energy, the impulsivity, that golden retriever persona, it all clicked. But then fast forward to 2025, and Steve starts feeling like, well, like the math just doesn't quite add up.
He said something didn't feel right. The ADHD explained the energy, but it didn't explain his struggle with social cues or this intense need for routine that made the Australia trip so devastating for him.
So in May 2025, he drops this video on Instagram, and it's kind of cinematic in its own way. He's standing next to a mirror image of himself, and then from around the corner walks a T-Rex.
A person in an inflatable dinosaur suit.
Labeled Autism.
It was such a Sam way to handle something so heavy. Just using humor to disarm all the stigma around it. He was diagnosed with autism at age 32, and suddenly the whole puzzle was complete.
And he was so honest about it, he called it his superpower, which is lovely, but he also admitted he's still trying to understand it.
And that nuance is so important. He didn't just say everything's fine now. He acknowledged that autism explains why he struggled so much with all the chaos. I mean, reality TV is inherently chaotic. It's built on conflict and schedule changes. For an autistic person, that environment is incredibly draining.
It explains the survival mode in Australia. His routine was completely shattered.
Exactly. When you strip away that routine from an autistic person, you often strip away their ability to cope. Those 24 sleeping pills weren't just for sleep. They were an attempt to chemically force a routine where one just didn't exist.
Which brings us to the bromance. Because while the romance with Zara died, the friendship with Pete Wicks seems to be the one thing that actually saved him.
It's his anchor. Pete Wicks and Sam Thompson are the ultimate odd couple. Pete is cynical, tattooed, too cool for school. And Sam is, well, Sam. But that dynamic became their business.
Their podcast, Staying Relevant, became a juggernaut. We're talking about a sold-out show at the O2 Arena, 20,000 people.
That number is just staggering for a podcast. It proves the audience didn't just love him from Made in Chelsea or I'm a Celeb. They bought into him and his friendship with Pete. It gave him a platform where he could just be his authentic, neurodivergent self.
And I think that success gave him the confidence to make the biggest decision of his career. The decision to just say, I'm done.
This was the headline that shocked people. Sam Thompson, the prince of reality TV, quits the genre. No more Big Brother, no more jungle.
He said he wants internal structure. He wants to focus on his radio breakfast shows and making documentaries. He wants to be the one asking the questions, not the one being filmed crying in a diary room.
It's a huge move from being the talent to being the creator. And it aligns perfectly with his diagnosis. Radio has a rigid schedule. Documentaries let him do deep dives. It's a career that respects his brain chemistry instead of fighting against it.
It's a massive pivot. He went from being the guy who would do anything for airtime to the guy who is saying no to the biggest shows on TV because they just don't fit his life anymore. Before we wrap, if you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
It's the ultimate act of self-preservation. He looked at 2024, the burnout, the pills, the heartbreak, and he realized the cost of that kind of success was just too high. He realized staying relevant isn't worth losing your mind.
So what's the big takeaway here? We've looked at the timeline, the sources. What does it all mean?
For me, it's a story about the danger of being the yes man. He spent a decade trying to be the most agreeable, most available guy in the room. And it worked. It got him the crown, but it almost broke him.
Absolutely. It's a cautionary tale about this obsession we have with relevance. But Sam Thompson found out that relevance doesn't keep you warm at night. And it certainly doesn't help you sleep when you're waking up at midnight in Australia.
He traded a relationship and his peace of mind for a year of being on top. But this reinvented Sam, the one who wears a dinosaur suit and hangs out with Pete Wicks. That feels like a much more sustainable version of success.
He stopped playing a character. For 10 years, he was Sam from Chelsea. Now he's just Sam. And it turns out that's enough to sell out the O2. So here's a final thought to chew on. Sam Thompson spent his entire adult life trying to be the best character on reality TV. But by quitting the genre and embracing his diagnoses, he might have finally found the one role he was actually born to play. Himself.
And maybe that's the hardest role of all.
You've been listening to The Deep Dive. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.